Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating, it's Wednesday, June 22nd, 2016. In both the Lynn Life and the Jamie Body Mind, we have aspects of the Vanovanov Souls. Whether these aspects have come from the Oversoul level or come up from the smaller subatomic is unclear, and I don't really think it matters a whole lot, to be honest. What matters much more is that we reestablish search for truth space. It's falling apart, or it has fallen apart, and if we can't tell what's true, how are we going to accomplish anything of any impact? And manifesting the divine plan, that's a big project, obviously, and it requires us to be at our best. We need to be able to tell what's really going on. So we're using as our intention for this formally videoed portion of today's efforts to do what is ours to do right now in all dimensions, to reestablish search for truth space. And with that, the formally videoed portions of today's efforts begin. We're supposed to say what we've noticed, and what we've noticed is that almost no one wants to acknowledge the inconvenient realities that are everywhere. And why is that? Somebody's saying, we think it's because we've, here on planet Crazy, also known as planet Earth, we can see it. It's because we've entered the period of paybacks.
That's true.
Our society actually has begun to collapse. When infant mortality rates rise, that's a sign of social collapse.
That's
when
true.
Voting rates drop, that's a sign of social collapse. When centralization of power moves past the point of oligarchy and into the point of plutocracy, meaning it isn't just a small group of people that are controlling the government, it's a small group of wealthy people that are controlling the government.
That's true.
Then we're into social collapse. And what now? What now? And unfortunately, the what now tends to be really inconvenient, and people don't want to think about it, and so they really shut down, to the point that we have crossed paths with a shocking percentage of people who don't actually seem to care whether or not what they're saying is true. They seem to view truth as an irrelevancy.
That's true.
Almost, how is that relevant? What difference does it make what's true? This is my position.
That's true. This is what I'm saying.
That's right. This is my position.
That's true.
And truth is irrelevant. What now? In order to reestablish search for truth space. And they're giving me the keep going signal. And what else have I noticed? I've noticed that this isn't just true for planet Crazy. This seems to be true for the soul presences who are coming in from above. And several days ago, play passed to the Oversoul level from the Individuated Soul levels, and that seems to have been a decision from higher than the Oversoul level, saying, all right, none of these individuated present souls are going to do a darn thing of value. By and large, play has passed to the Oversoul level. I think the burden of proof has now shifted. Whereas before, the individuated souls were being given the opportunity to make a difference, now the assumption is they're not going to do a darn thing. And play has passed to the Oversoul level, and if there are any individuated souls who say that they can make a difference, now is the time for them to step up, roll up their sleeves, and get to work.
That's true. I don't hear anything.
No, and there's a big sadness because we've now run our first test at the level of the Oversouls, and the first test results show that it's no different, actually. The same attitudes are there of wanting to do just a tiny little bit and then expecting big results. And when the divine delivery system was working, that used to work, but it's broken down, and now that doesn't work, and now we have to do things the old-fashioned way with effort. And what we see is that the soul, the non-physical to physical ratio is so out of balance.
That's true.
That there's like 100 times, 1,000 times, maybe more than that. too much soul presence with regard to how much physical life there is. This seems to have been an important driver for this wave of body snatching that is easily observable here on Planet Crazy.
That's true.
And we see it happening on other levels as well. We see souls moving in and requisitioning bodies. That just means they're body snatching. That's what that means.
That's true.
So there are too many souls for the lives. They're not actually supporting the lives. And we get these messages here. They say, now go count the caterpillars as you pull them off the plants. And we're over 3,000 caterpillars on these little small hedges. These aren't big shrubs. 3,000 caterpillars. That's completely out of balance.
That's true.
The hedges could be eaten to the ground 10 times over. The caterpillars themselves would starve. So there's too much soul presence. It has to be reduced to its pure form and recycled into clean, fresh energy. Restore the flow of living waters, in other words. What has happened to the living waters? Why have they ceased to fall? Because souls are holding back. And the hand is saying, keep going. And what have we noticed? We've noticed that just like the caterpillars will learn to hide, they'll go get on the back side of the stem when they hear us coming.
That's true.
The souls have learned how to dry themselves out so that they're hard to juice. But then they just come down like the circus tents and like the rotting curtains. It still comes down, and we are dragging that down into the smaller subatomic and giving it to the lives of the presences who are trying to live. There are people trying to live in all of these dimensions in the physical, and the smaller levels have it so much harder than we do. And so we can turn around and create a divine miracle for them. They're suffering so deeply. By drawing in the soul energy and drawing it through us into the smaller subatomic, we can change their experience of sentience for the smaller subatomic presences.
That's true.
The hand is still saying, keep going. And what else I'm aware of is that it's important for us to take responsibility for ourselves in all aspects. For example, to take responsibility for effective communication. If we're sloppy in our communication, then we're just handing presences excuses to not do what it is they should be doing. Of course, they look like jerks and poorly intentioned
morons,
bumbling fools. Yes,
that's true.
But we're not doing everything that we could possibly do.
That's true.
If we don't take responsibility for very precise communication. The hand is saying go on, but I don't know what it means. I'm sorry, I don't know what you're getting at.
I feel the go on.
Yes.
And
now it's getting angry, saying go on, go on, go on. Okay, give me a minute.
Let me see if I can get it.
Well, friend, how about this? How about you take responsibility for the communication rather than getting angry and saying go on, go on. Play passes to you. I'm sorry, I concede this communication link. I don't get what you're getting at. I'm sorry. Try again. Oh, crashing doors.
I know what this feeling is.
Yes.
He didn't actually know what the go on was.
He can tell that there is something.
He can, and he's hoping we'll say it so then he can say, yes, I told them to say it. Yes, I gave them that wisdom. I did it. He doesn't actually know. He doesn't actually know.
You're such a fraud, just like all the others. Why don't you set an example for all the frauds, gather up all the frauds, and come on down and go down into the smaller subatomic? They actually need help. To them, you might be a consistent source of significantly higher vibration. You might be. They need you down there. Come on, go for it. I'm very busy. I can't be bothered.
Doesn't want to do that.
Yes, just like everyone else. Live streaming way up. What now? In order to reestablish search for truth space. What now?
No.
We can bifurcate all those who really want to know what's actually going on, to search for truth, central axis, all others flung away.
That's true.
We noticed how the Vanovanov Oversouls weren't big on this particular bifurcation. They wanted to bifurcate for other things, but they didn't want to bifurcate for all those who really want to know what's actually going on.
That's true.
We can also separate 50% most true from 50% least true, and right away burn 50% least true. This seems to help a lot.
That's true.
Because it seems like there are a lot of presences, and many of them feel like levels of the loose stream of souls.
That's true.
They're hung up on some little nugget, and their point may be valid, but that is an unimportant point. And as soon as we begin to separate 50% most true from 50% least true, and right away burn 50% least true, those things that were hanging them up are burnt as least true, and are revealed to be unimportant. Let that go. Let that go. Focus on what really matters. That isn't the priority.
That's true.
Now I can tell what that presence could also feel needed to be said, and that's that the loose stream of souls is hanging in there in terms of wanting to still do something to manifest the divine plan.
That's true.
More than many other streams of souls. But that they have a problem with priorities. And we also, what else do we know? Yeah, he's picking up the trail again. We know that our Luce said a long time ago about the Jamie body mind that there was something wrong with that body, and he didn't want to work out of that body. And what else do we know? Now the trail is coming thick. That we can often see in others the aspects of ourselves that are the biggest problem in our own lives.
That's true.
And so what's likely? It's likely that the Jamie body mind's way of being is similar to the loose body mind's way of being in aspects that are messing up our Luce.
That's true.
And both of them have problems setting priorities or discerning priorities.
Yeah, this is true.
They get hung up in stuff that doesn't matter. It's like
both, almost in the same way.
Yeah.
Almost identical.
Almost identical. The hand is saying continue, continue, just as it can be helpful for the loose stream of souls to observe what messes up the Jamie body mind and take it to heart, considering that maybe, just maybe, they have that identical issue. It could be helpful to the Jamie body mind to observe the error patterns of the loose souls, take it to heart. Maybe, just maybe, I have that same issue.
That's true.
And right away burn 50% least true, and right away like a breath separate 50% most true. Inhaling life, exhaling burning of untruth. Inhaling life, exhaling burning of untruth. Inhaling life, exhaling burning of untruth. The exhale being a transformation of a mangled mass of experience into something that has less untruth.
Well, I know that Luce resists doing what is his to do, especially with sorting and burning what is most untrue. And I know that he has said multiple times, if I do that, I won't get anything else done. I know that feeling too. Of, oh my goodness, I'll just be sitting there all day dealing with
the search for truth.
Search for truth.
Right.
And he still feels that way. I feel him feeling that.
Right. And what happens to him when he doesn't follow the protocol?
Falls apart.
He falls apart,
That's
hard
true.
and fast. And then he's a hazard to himself and everybody around him.
That's true. Oh, I see.
So, what are the options?
The options are to do what is yours to do and stay in the game, or don't do what is yours to do and be a great big tangled mess. and
Right.
nobody worth talking to will want to be around you.
And specifically, what do you mean by do what is yours to do?
Do your self-care and do that thing you're supposed to do in every moment that plops down.
Yes, but the topic on the table is searching for truth. And it is time-consuming, and nobody is denying that.
That's
but if we
true.
can't tell what's real, how does it work for Luce? All those Luces.
It doesn't work at all. It's a terrible disaster to not know what's true.
It's a terrible disaster.
Therefore, for this life, it's also a terrible disaster to not know what's true. And therefore, for both the Luce Soul and for this life, nothing else actually matters more whatsoever.
Nothing matters more. Nothing matters more. If you can't tell what's true, you're helpless.
That's true.
You're stopped at the starting gate.
Luce, that's just what's true. I see it. I get it. I see it. Starting to correct the errors for the
Luce, you're way too low. You're so far too low. Your scale is entirely wrong. You aren't supposed to be down here in the contaminated zone.
That's true.
You're supposed to be out of the contaminated zone. You don't function well here. You don't. It doesn't matter that you say you can. You can't function unless you do the protocols, and you haven't proven yourself willing to do the protocols. Why don't you, how about this? Why don't you go out of the contaminated zone and start doing the protocols there and establish the habit there? And when you have the established habit of searching for truth, burning 50% least true like a breath, then start to drop down. But to start to drop down before you have that protocol in place, it's crazy. You have a 100% failure rate. 100% failure rate, Luce.
That's true.
Don't do it. Please. He says, in a gross, angry tone of voice, you say I'm supposed to lead, and then you say I'm not supposed to come in. Luce, what we said is until you've mastered the protocols, you aren't supposed to come in.
That's true.
Go
What
to
would
a
that
safe
mean?
place, master the protocols, and then come in.
That's true.
Now he's just crashing around. I'm going to pull this down to the smaller subatomic. And the aspects of him who really want to know what's true presumably will pop out. I don't know.
That's true. I feel them looking up in the smaller levels.
I do. Grab this and pull it down. Grab it, pull it down.
Yes, I'll hand it. This makes a whole lot of sense. Luce also doesn't take responsibility for himself, gets all bent out of shape about stuff, picks bad attitudes. Well, no wonder he wouldn't like this one, because we share so many of the traits that mess us up day in and day out. And when something upsets us in somebody else, it's
When
really
there's
likely
the
that
emotional
we share
charge.
it. That's right.
If we can't observe it with peace in our heart, then we have an aspect of it ourselves.
That's true.
And lots of people say, well, I observe it with peace in my heart, but what they're really doing is choosing apathy, and that's something else.
That's a whole
Apathy
different
isn't
thing.
peace. Apathy is apathy.
That's
Peace
true.
is peace.
That's true.